Story 1. To accomplish any task, I often feel overwhelming guilt or sheer panic. Either way, my brain must operate at full capacity just to provide a fraction of the motivation I need for life. Story 2. Out of sight, out of mind is literal. I forget everything everywhere, even if I just had it less than 10 seconds ago. Story 3. I hyperfixate on something random for about 2 weeks, get good at it, and then completely lose interest. I often return to it 5 months later. No one understands that I can't control this. Story 4. I am only motivated if it is something highly interesting to me or if there are immediate consequences. There is no middle ground. Story 5. For me, I really want to do the things I need to do, but sometimes I just can't. Frustrates me. Story 6. Not being able to do the things I want to do because I simply cannot tell my body to do it is something individuals without attention deficit hyperactivity disorder do not understand. People often assume that my intelligence should equate to success and results. Unfortunately, that is not the case. Results come from consistency, not capacity or intelligence. Sadly, consistency and discipline are very difficult if you have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Story 7. When I open a tab to pay a bill, I get distracted by a meme, open 3 more tabs to research sea turtles, and 2 hours later, I still haven't paid the bill. Story 8. The constant state of overwhelm. Every task feels daunting. The whirlwind in my mind paralyzes me. Story 9. Executive dysfunction is not laziness. I know I need to complete the task. I want to finish it so I can stop thinking about it. My mind will not let me proceed. Story 10. You don't get a break from it. My brain is always active. It's not helpful and makes my anxiety worse. I can't pay attention even to things I enjoy. I see something I should do and think, I should do that, but often never get around to it. I only partially listen when people are talking to me, even when it's important, despite all the reminders I give myself. I have tried all the methods that everyone recommends. Without medication, I literally can't function. I had this issue as a teenager and have been without help since I was 18. I'm stuck in my thoughts, which keeps me going in circles, and it is frustrating. Story 11. How exhausting it is to never stop thinking. You know those conversations you can have with people that keep going, and you are actively looking for ways to escape? It's like that, but you can never find a way out. Then there is the hyper-awareness and self-consciousness. This is not necessarily a symptom of attention deficit/hyperactivity disorder, but is present in many who experience a life where people do not understand their needs, problems, and shortcomings, responding instead with judgment, punishment, and abandonment. As a result, you endlessly try to catch, rectify, and preemptively apologize for every possible scenario that has caused you pain in the past. You will never truly succeed, as many people believe attention deficit/hyperactivity disorder does not exist or is merely an excuse. Each time they punish you for it, it hurts a little bit more. Story 12. I struggle to manage my time effectively. I also find it difficult to maintain communication with others, often forgetting or feeling overwhelmed. Story 13. No, I didn't diagnose myself from TikTok to get stimulant medications. And no, Adderall is not the same as methamphetamine. Additionally, you do not have mild attention deficit hyperactivity disorder just because you are addicted to your phone. Story 14. Being aware of rejection sensitivity dysphoria and arguing with yourself while reviewing every conversation you've had to determine if it is rejection sensitivity dysphoria or if you actually offended someone is draining. This awareness has made me even more exhausted. Story 15. Impulsive decisions are my biggest struggle. I often agree to meet up with friends, only to later realize that I already had plans. Many of my friends think I am unreliable, but the truth is that I simply didn't remember because I was too excited. Story 16. Often, we experience something called rejection sensitivity disorder, where many situations can feel like rejection, even when they are not. As a result, we tend to take things very personally. Additionally, general mood swings can occur. Many people do not realize that this is associated with attention deficit/hyperactivity disorder, and it can be quite a struggle. Story 17. I'm not forgetting on purpose. I try to remember. I have multiple alarms and notifications, but some things just vanish, and I don't know how to make it stop. Story 18. I am not lazy, stupid, or irresponsible. I have to work really hard to perform the same tasks that come naturally to others. When I was in nursing school, I had to print my notes ahead of time, write on them during class, and then record the lecture so I could listen to it later while studying. This was the only way I could retain the information effectively. It was overwhelming. I once saw a video where someone compared my situation to having a clunky car while everyone else has a Tesla. The clunker can drive just as well theoretically, but it requires significantly more work and preparation to do so. Story 19. I do not have habits or routines. The concept of doing something for 2 weeks until it becomes automatic does not apply to me. Everything I do, even simple and frequent tasks like brushing my teeth, requires a conscious decision and effort. I once heard someone describe it as being stuck in manual mode while others are on autopilot. Nothing is ever automatic, and it can be exhausting. Story 20. No memory to speak of beyond 20 seconds at most, and constantly feeling overwhelmed by the existence of everything. Story 21. It takes me longer to learn certain concepts. I struggle to follow a long list of instructions when doing anything. I need it broken down. Story 22. If I focus on any one particular spinning plate, the others will crash down. If I start cleaning one room, another will be neglected. Story 23. Constantly losing my belongings is exhausting and often embarrassing. Phones, keys, bags, jackets, and umbrellas are all scattered and lost, left behind. It feels like they don't exist. I have many little routines and practices, but it still happens with relentless regularity. Story 24. Being told to do something often triggers an overwhelming urge to refuse due to certain principles associated with ADHD. Story 25. When my brain says you're not allowed to do it, then no matter how much I want to do it, how easy it is to do, how fast it is to do, how important or urgent it is to do, and how accessible the tools are, I will not do it. I will either do anything else but that or just sit there staring into nothing, feeling paralyzed, until something else grabs my attention. It can be about literally any task, from drinking water to paying my bills, and this paralysis is completely random and can sometimes last for weeks on end. So when people ask me if I did the task, and I say no, they inquire why, and I don't have a reason other than I was mentally stuck. The ones who get the most frustrated are the ones who say, "Oh, I guess you were busy with other stuff." But then I tell them, "No, I was literally free for the past 3 weeks with nothing taking my attention or time. I could have done it any day at any time." And they just lose their minds because, for them, it makes no sense that a person can leave something undone when they have time on their hands. Story 26. It is challenging to listen to people speak for longer than a minute. Please provide a summary. It is difficult to stay engaged when they continue to talk without pause. Story 27. Time blindness makes it difficult for me to plan and schedule effectively. Can be quite frustrating. Story 28. How much it destroys self-esteem. Every single thing people have mentioned in this discussion is an example of the many ways in which we all make mistakes repeatedly, every day. Do you have any idea what that does to a person? Just constant mistakes and being unable to stop them, no matter how hard we try, throughout life? So yes, we feel like failures. Human psychology kicks in, and defense mechanisms take over. Some of us become defensive and sensitive about being told we made a mistake. Some of us become extreme perfectionists who cannot tolerate errors in an attempt to stop the cycle. Some of us struggle to admit to our mistakes and display narcissistic traits, and so on. Story 29. I feel overstimulated with my own body. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night wanting to remove 3 of my fingers because it is so irritating. Other times, I feel like my spinal cord is understimulated, and I want to fold myself in half. Well, I try anyway. Story 30. I am fully aware that it is very concerning that I forgot to file my taxes last year. This stresses me out a lot to think about, and that stress makes it harder for me to address the situation. Story 31. If I am speaking and someone interrupts me, I cannot pick up where I left off when they have finished because I have lost my train of thought and have no idea what I was going to say. They think I am being passive-aggressive to make a point, but I am really not. Story 32. Doing things that I find boring and unmotivating, such as folding clean laundry and washing dishes, provides no dopamine boost. I struggle to stay focused in meetings and to remain awake. Story 33. Being perceived as stupid, lazy, or naive is frustrating. I am an intelligent and hardworking adult. I am not trying to be cute or intentionally difficult. My neurodevelopmental disorder sometimes limits me, but at other times, I am the only person in the room capable of getting things done because of it. I am convinced that if the individuals who tell me it is my fault and suggest I simply get a planner or try harder spent a day in my mind, they would gain understanding. They would likely feel overwhelmed by how challenging it can be to navigate a society that demands 110% effort, even from those who are neurotypical. Story 34. Hypervigilance, fear of being perceived, executive dysfunction, constant distraction, overwhelming anxiety, perpetual depression, and an inability to accurately communicate my emotions or thoughts. Just normal stuff. Story 35. Memory deficiency has been affecting my speech pattern. Perhaps it's because of cognitive load, as I tend to do several things at once. Story 36. I try to get my day started by outlining the projects I need to complete. 2 hours later, I have set up 7 different projects all around my space, but I get so distracted by the disarray that I can't think, resulting in little to no progress. Story 37. I often delay tasks that are relatively simple to complete. I've missed out on events because I waited too long to purchase tickets, for example. This frustrates my friends and myself, but I find it challenging to change. Story 38. Attention deficit/hyperactivity disorder is a motivation disorder, not just a focus disorder. Our brains don't provide enough inertia to be motivated, and often when we accomplish something, our brains don't reward us the same way others do. It's like working twice as hard for half as much. This includes simple things that are ingrained in others. It's why many people with attention deficit/hyperactivity disorder struggle with hygiene. If that's you, consider booking your dentist appointment. Additionally, attention deficit/hyperactivity disorder is a spectrum. Though it's sometimes described in a lighthearted way, it can derail some people's lives. On a larger scale, executive dysfunction, working memory issues, and emotional regulation can be severely affected. The day-to-day experience isn't pleasant either if you're struggling. I understand the frustration of not being able to stop interrupting. It bothers me too, I promise. Furthermore, attention deficit/hyperactivity disorder often has co-occurring conditions that can make life even more challenging. However, it's not all bad. Hopefully, someone also highlights the positive aspects of it. If you're interested in learning more, I enjoyed the episodes on attention deficit/hyperactivity disorder featured in the Ologies podcast. Story 39. I do not manage well with downtime. I need to be doing something, anything, regardless of its productivity level. This has caused issues at work for using my phone during slow periods. My manager at the time was reluctant to assign me extra tasks, despite my repeated requests. Additionally, it is challenging for me to engage in activities that do not interest me. I naturally prioritize whatever I find most interesting or entertaining. This can be a double-edged sword. When I am invested in something, I can focus on it for an entire day or week without taking breaks. Whether that activity is ultimately beneficial or productive is another matter. On a positive note, I now know how to ride motorcycles, and I will reach 5 years of experience by this summer. Story 40. Basically, focus issues arise when you cannot control what your brain decides to focus on. Today, you might find yourself all in on something strange. Why did people once find mustaches attractive? Do mustaches hold some type of power? This can lead to an hour of daydreaming. It doesn't matter if you have work to do or plans. That's what your brain is occupied with. There are mustaches to understand. Alternatively, your brain might decide not to process what someone said to you 3 times in a row, and it all comes out as gibberish. Story 41. It depends on your age. You may have learned to mask your struggles very well. Most people I know think I am just normal, whatever that means. If they were to see me after a long week, they would be surprised at how different I am. Usually, by the weekend, I am so tired of trying to control that restless energy that I just go with it. Unfortunately, without a diagnosis, medication is not really an option. Story 42. Justice sensitivity in attention deficit/hyperactivity disorder refers to a heightened awareness of fairness, equity, and perceived injustice, leading to stronger emotional and behavioral responses to these situations. Individuals with attention deficit/hyperactivity disorder may perceive injustice more frequently and intensely, with reactions that can include anger, resentment, or a strong desire to restore balance. This trait can manifest in various ways, such as protesting against perceived unfairness or experiencing intense guilt or shame when they believe they are contributing to injustice. Story 43. Anxiety. Everything is important. Depression. Nothing is important. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I have no idea what is important. Story 44. Today, I wanted to clean the kitchen. I emptied the dishwasher first, and while doing so, I found a lid for a container. I needed to empty the drawer to ensure all the lids and containers matched. I decided to move the drawer to a more convenient location, but I discovered an item in the drawer that shouldn't have been there. Before finishing the organization, I needed to put that random item away. I became frustrated because the miscellaneous drawer was messy, so I emptied it out on the kitchen counter. Then I noticed that my husband had folded towels on the dining table, so I decided to put them away. However, when I got upstairs to put the towels away, my daughter asked me to braid her hair for soccer. The kitchen didn't get cleaned. Just an FYI. Story 45. I hyperfocus and forget to eat, sleep, or drink. I even forget my family exists. The rest of the time, I am bored by everything. Story 46. The difficulty of wanting to do something but being unable to start can be challenging for individuals. It is not a matter of laziness. Sometimes, the mind can prevent action even when there is a strong internal urge to begin. This can lead to feelings of anxiety and self-doubt because one understands the necessity of taking action. Those who do not experience this may view it simply as procrastination. However, it can feel like being paralyzed while fully aware of the tasks that need to be completed. Story 47. Difficulty with focus. I struggle with hyperfocus, and I'm not sure if it's due to attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, bipolar disorder type 1, or borderline personality disorder. My mind is always chaotic. I'm constantly thinking about something and can't turn it off. Story 48. My mind is active all the time. I know I need to complete my chores, but I feel stuck in a trance and then become overwhelmed. My impulsive tendencies make it harder. It's a constant struggle. Story 49. I cannot ignore that song or sound in the background. Yes, in the middle of your detailed story about something important, I will suddenly need to remember the name of that song, even if I don't like it much. It isn't disrespect, it's distraction. Story 50. Being interrupted while I am finally doing the thing I need to do is challenging. The struggle to get back to where I was is real. Story 51. This is how I explain some of what I struggle with. Imagine you're in a room staring at a wall with 100 television monitors. Every single one is playing a different movie, but you're simultaneously paying attention to the details of each one. That's how it feels to think. It's exhausting to simply exist. It also impacts memory because I constantly have so much going on in my brain that when one of those images leaves, it's essentially lost forever since I'm so focused on everything else. However, when I take my medication, it's like I have one monitor. It's clear, and I can appreciate and notice every detail. When something else comes on, I have spent enough time on the previous image that I don't forget it just because I'm not actively looking at or thinking about it. Story 52. Living in a constant state of stress is the baseline of life. There is uncontrollable rage over small issues, yet a total calmness in the face of larger challenges. Story 53. I want to get started on the task. I am stressed about beginning. I know I need to take action. I have been preoccupied with the task but feel paralyzed and unable to start because my mind cannot focus. I am stuck in a cycle of waiting until panic and anxiety push me to begin the task. often late and after much stress on my body, resulting in wasted time. This is not the same as simply relaxing or procrastinating. I feel a sense of inner panic and frustration with myself, yet I still cannot initiate the task. It is frustrating. Story 54. I don't have a sense of friendship decay. I still like people as friends long after they have forgotten me. Story 55. I need to use my calendar and electronic reminders for everything. I could spend hours thinking about and preparing for an appointment, only to work right through it because I got distracted by something else. Story 56. If there is too much going on, I feel overwhelmed and enter a state of paralysis. If there is not enough going on, I feel underwhelmed and also enter paralysis. There is a specific balance in which everything feels just right, allowing me to accomplish the work of 3 people on my own. Usually, this situation involves panic, urgency, deadlines, or anxiety from a task list that is simply too long. I either burn myself out or become bored because I cannot find a way to function normally. Additionally, I am unable to relax because my mind keeps reminding me of everything I need to do during my time off. As a result, I stress about these tasks while thinking I should be relaxing. It's exhausting. Story 57. The constant 10-minute timer in the mornings keeps me on track while I get ready. Many people stop my snooze button, unaware that I will be late if I am not regularly reminded of how much time I am taking. Story 58. I can be staring straight at you, nodding my head as you talk to me, but I cannot hear anything you are saying. Story 59. My boyfriend has attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and to be honest, I struggle to understand him. At times, I feel he uses executive dysfunction as an excuse. I am following this thread for a better understanding. Story 60. I try not to zone out when people talk to me. It's surprising how I can lose focus and miss half of what is said. On one hand, it feels like a blessing since most people are not saying anything important. However, I can tell that it might be annoying for them when I respond without having heard a word they said. Story 61. Being misunderstood as lazy is challenging. There is so much noise in my head that trying to create a coherent plan can feel like a monumental task some days. It is difficult to fit into a society that values only money and time. Story 62. The dreams, dude. Right when you're ready to turn off your brain, you have to do an oil change with your landlord. The brain just never stops running. Story 63. Getting hyper-focused on a new hobby or interest, I will spend a lot of time and money on it, only to lose interest a few weeks later and the cycle continues. Story 64. Even when you take Adderall, the focusing energy isn't immediately directed at productive tasks like homework. Sometimes, you take Adderall and the focusing energy shifts to thoughts like, I put on my outfit for the day, but I really want a necklace to wear with it. I should sit down and focus on making one without getting up for an hour. Story 65. The problem is that when I see a kitten, I wonder what breed it is. Oh, it's a Havana Brown. How long do they live? I need to do some research. I'm actually going to start a blog about cats. Back on topic, what was it? The struggle of people with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I don't know. Story 66. Can someone explain why rationalizing does not help? If there is something you need to do and you know how to do it, even if it may take 5 to 15 minutes of boredom, why does the block still exist? Is that the essence of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, that you can't force yourself to begin something regardless of rationalizing? Story 67. I have trouble being patient while someone finishes speaking. I often find myself trying to say the last word or sentence, and I can tell it frustrates others. My mind tends to predict the answers, which makes me want to rush through the conversation. I dislike when my thoughts wander off track, causing me to forget my topic. I constantly have to remind myself of the main point because I hate losing my focus mid-sentence. Sometimes I feel like I am an elderly person with Alzheimer's disease, and it frustrates me. Story 68. I went undiagnosed until I was 27, and supposedly the microtraumas of being unknowingly neurodivergent, along with some larger traumas, led to the development of borderline personality disorder. If you read about it, you'll know it is not easy to have or to be around someone with if symptoms are visibly displayed. I literally don't go a day without wishing for death. I can't speak to just attention deficit hyperactivity disorder struggles explicitly because I have many similar comorbidities. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is my most recent diagnosis, and I haven't figured out what causes what symptoms yet. Another thing I struggle with a lot is being perceived as the gifted child with all the wasted potential, which I hear can be common with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Story 69. Completely shutting down before a big event makes it difficult to concentrate, sleep well, and think clearly. Sometimes I experience migraines during the event because I haven't slept well in the week leading up to it, which prevents me from enjoying the occasion. I am trying to plan things for the next big event in the summer, but that is also challenging. Story 70. Setting things down absent-mindedly can disrupt your day, week, or month. You might have an argument with a friend who isn't present. You may lose that argument and feel upset for the rest of the day. It's been a rough week for me, and perhaps someone will highlight some positives. Story 71. I'm overwhelmed because the kitchen is a mess, and I don't know where to begin. When my husband helps me get started, I need to take the laundry upstairs to clear the bench. But wait, there are some items on the stairs that I need to take up. They go in a different room, and when I'm in there, I see some rubbish that needs to go in the bin, but the bin needs emptying. I spend 2 hours running around, but I haven't completed my original task. In my head, I feel like I've achieved nothing. The kitchen is still a mess, and now I'm overwhelmed and tired, unable to fix it. I also feel like a failure for not being able to do things I believe I should be able to manage, like brushing my teeth, going to the bathroom even when I'm desperate, or making food despite not having eaten all day. Sometimes, I end up feeling like a bad person. Story 72. Well, I have been on the test list for a year and a half now, but I heard it's genetic and my sister has it. I have a book stuck in my head, but every time I sit down and want to write it, I just can't. An empty page is so unstimulating that I can't pay attention to it. I tried music, shows, and all kinds of other things on my second monitor, which is usually enough for gaming. I even tried going to the gym beforehand to tire myself out. Nothing seems to work. I have notes that I write on the train. It's hard, but it works. However, I can't write the whole book on my phone, and our trains don't have tables. Since I also have hydrocephalus, I'm not inclined to self-medicate or anything. I am just going to wait until the doctor tests me and hopefully helps me. Story 73. I can do anything as long as someone is expecting it of me. That outside pressure works for me. But if something is just for my own benefit, I can't seem to start it. For a university group assignment, I am your girl. It will get done, although maybe a bit last minute. But my own thesis or applying for internships, I just can't. The paralysis is killing me. Story 74. 1. I often find it difficult to provide simple answers, often resorting to long explanations for straightforward questions. I am grateful for tools like ChatGPT, as I use them to request that most of my formal emails be shortened and made concise. I struggle to commit to long-term projects. I have had many business ideas where I created a website, drafted terms and conditions, registered everything, purchased the necessary equipment, started the project, and then gave up after a week. I spent 3 years wanting to continue but did not take any action. The same applies to my hobbies. I bought a 3D printer and an air compressor for airbrush painting, along with several other tools, and even built a separate room for this purpose. After a year, I am still struggling to finish painting my first 3D printed model, which is 50 centimeters tall. I genuinely want to complete it, and I know that once I sit down and start working on it, I will enjoy the process. However, it is challenging to turn my desire to do it into actual action. Story 75. I struggle with the impatience I feel when everyone else around a conference table takes what seems like forever to make connections that are obvious and immediate to me. This is often why I start looking at my phone or doodling, because those distractions prevent me from saying something that might seem rude. All I want to do is get everyone caught up to the same place so we can move forward with what needs to come next. Story 76. Walking around in circles trying to accomplish something, but other thoughts keep popping into my head. I also keep losing things constantly. Story 77. I was diagnosed in my early 30s. I am now 49 years old. I do not medicate anymore, so every day is a struggle. However, I have learned to work with my issues rather than against them. Routine helps. An organizational system is beneficial, as everything has a designated place, and I know where to find it. My worst habit is managing mail. I have piles of it that I do not open for months, which is not ideal when I receive a bill and do not pay it on time. Story 78. It's not only about hyperactivity or lack of attention. I used to forget where I put my keys every single day until I started to leave them in the same spot, forming a habit. I forget where I place many other items to the point where I have to intentionally put things in clear spaces or areas where I know I'll look first if I lose something. Also, my medication doesn't transform me into a superhero, a genius, or anything extraordinary. It just helps me feel normal. Story 79. I cannot listen to podcasts. I cannot sit idle and listen to one, so I am usually occupied with something else. When I get focused on what I am doing, I completely tune the podcast out. This frustrates the people around me who love podcasts and continually recommend them, but I explain that I do not listen to them because I am tired of repeating myself. Story 80. Not being able to tell a simple story without it taking a long time because you feel the need to include background context for others to truly understand it is frustrating. It is particularly disappointing when others urge you to get to the point. Story 81. Focusing. When my brain won't work, I think there is a lot of misconception about attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and most people chalk it up to laziness. I've been told many times to just do it or just sit down and do it. I always thought I was faulty, lazy, or not trying hard enough because that's how people made me feel. Now I understand that other people have this ability to just make themselves do something that I physically do not. When I've been told that, I don't understand it. I cannot just do something. I will sit down and try to do something while my brain goes on an adventure that I have no control over. So I've learned to make adjustments and work with myself long before diagnosis. I honestly just wish the rest of the world would understand and give me that little bit of grace. Story 82. One of my worst issues is distractibility. I can be headed out to the car to go somewhere and remember to take something, then head back inside. On my way in, I remember a second thing and even a third, generally recalling the first but completely blank on the rest until I get into the car and 3 miles down the road. It's incredibly frustrating. Story 83. Starting one task and then moving to another room to get something often leads to starting another task there. I have many incomplete tasks happening simultaneously. Story 84. My brain cannot prioritize the importance of different tasks, and it can become so overwhelming that I physically shut down. For example, I need to pay a bill before tomorrow, get groceries, do the dishes, fold laundry, schedule a doctor's appointment, and mop. I tend to either overcomplicate a plan of action to complete everything or disassociate because, in my mind, all these tasks feel equally important, and there is not enough time to finish them, yet they all need to be done today. Eventually, I will get up and start, but I will likely begin with what others might consider a less important task. Story 85. If I am in the middle of a sentence when someone interjects a thought, I go off on 3 new thoughts and usually completely lose whatever I was talking about. This is frustrating when I am only 3 words in and the other person cannot remind me. Story 86. Time blindness. While I have developed several tools and methods to address this issue, I still struggle to estimate how long various tasks will take. If I am on time for something, it is usually because I have set multiple alarms or because I intended to arrive early but ended up running late. People in my life have learned to give me inaccurate information about when events start. This is not due to a lack of caring. Story 87. The fact that I manage my symptoms well enough to only make mistakes about as much as the average person is a significant accomplishment, a huge win. However, I receive no empathy or recognition for this struggle because everyone struggles with that sometimes. This response is often followed by advice that includes the word just. You need to. If you. Sometimes you have to. If it's not just, it's only. There is no just or only in attention deficit/hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. Every tool to manage symptoms, every trick, every hack involves tasks. Struggling with tasks is at the core of the executive dysfunction issues in ADHD. This is what makes statements like, "Everyone's a little ADHD" so endlessly infuriating. Story 88. Forgetting basic things. Having to do everything last minute in a frantic rush or it doesn't get done. Misplaced keys, wallets, etc. Story 89. How forgetful I can become. People have complained to me about forgetting things, but I promise it's never intentional. Luckily, I have started making notes and to-do lists and it has helped. Story 90. Focusing in an office environment can be challenging. Without noise-canceling headphones, I find it difficult to perform my job effectively. I work in a metrics-based environment, and constant talking is distracting. When a coworker engages me in conversation, I struggle to concentrate on my tasks. Overhearing noise and conversations only adds to the distraction. I am much more productive working from home in my office, free from interruptions. Additionally, I often feel burnt out after about a year in any job I have tried, which is frustrating. Story 91. I am not diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, but I am almost certain I have it because it seems absolutely impossible for me to make a doctor's appointment to inquire about it. Story 92. Being unable to retain or feeling extremely unsure of small snippets of data is challenging. I work in engineering, so when dealing with numbers, I can only remember 2 or 3 digits at a time. This leads to a lot of back and forth, checking and rechecking. As a result, it takes me 4 to 5 times longer to complete a complicated task compared to others. For instance, what might take my peers an hour to complete can take me about 6 hours to finish. It's not that I'm incapable. I am simply overwhelmed by the fear of making errors due to a lack of attention. Story 93. Getting anything completed is difficult. My world is full of tasks that are started but never finished. Trying to concentrate is quite challenging when others are around. Any little noise or movement is enough to pull me off track, like a dog that sees a squirrel. Story 94. I need to clean my house. It's a mess filled with clutter. My family deserves better, and I deserve better as well. However, it feels so overwhelming for me. I am a stay-at-home mom with 3 teenagers. Mostly, I drive them places. Otherwise, I watch too much television and read. At some point, my life fell apart. I just can't do the things I need to do, even the things I want to do. I don't know where to start, and it is a horrible feeling. Story 95. I don't forget to do things. I just can't do them. Small tasks like answering a text or sending a package are things I sometimes put off for months. Making people ask, "Did you forget about this?" I respond with no. I think about the fact that I have to do these tasks daily and feel so much shame about it that it hurts, yet my mind won't let me complete them. My therapist referred to this as clogging my memory because, at any given time, I have many small tasks I need to keep in mind to ensure I don't forget them eventually. However, since I can't clear this imaginary to-do list, it becomes so overwhelming that every new task feels like an impossible challenge. The idea of waking up and saying, "Today I choose to do this," then simply doing it sounds as unattainable to me as choosing to grow wings and fly. Story 96. I make impulsive decisions in my mind that I sometimes cannot ignore because of the constant urge to just do it. However, I procrastinate on tasks that should be completed by now. Story 97. There is a symptomatic behavior associated with the disorder that is not unique to attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It also appears in conditions like depression and obsessive-compulsive disorder. This phenomenon is known as revenge bedtime procrastination. You delay sleep, either deliberately or compulsively, to reclaim the time you feel you lost during the day. Because attention deficit hyperactivity disorder often leaves people with choice paralysis when there is too much to do, they may end up not doing anything. Once the day is over, a person might think, "I need to do something. Otherwise, I literally wasted a day." So you stay up doing something. It could be a task that needed to be done during the day, or it might be a simple activity like dusting your room or playing a video game. You choose to engage in a task instead of sleeping because you'll feel guilty otherwise. Story 98. I can't just sit down and focus. It's not that simple. I can try to follow the instructions given to me, but my mind often takes over, leading me to daydream. Sometimes, I struggle to complete tasks because my mind blocks me. I sat down at the computer 10 minutes ago to work on a game I'm creating, but I haven't accomplished anything so far. Story 99. Binge shopping or buying unnecessary items can be frustrating at times. Additionally, the time spent exploring random distractions is unproductive. Story 100. Just how hard it is to be an adult. The daily tasks create numerous micro-stressors that slowly accumulate. Need to pay the water bill? I forgot to. Need to do taxes? I can't seem to find the time. Almost late to work again. Need to clean the kitchen? I accidentally got distracted on the way. Where are my car keys? It's just constant micro-stressors and shame. Story 101. Rejection sensitivity can be paralyzing and exhausting. Being rejected hurts, and I can get through it. However, the underlying feeling in nearly every social interaction is the belief that you do not belong before you even say, "Hi, my name is," or that at any moment people will realize you are different and, because of that, exclude you from things. Story 102. When you feel your toes touching, you must continue until it torments you to the end of your existence. Story 103. Ask me to learn how to make kombucha from scratch and then figure out how to build an entire business from it in a foreign country, sure. Ask me to remember a 6-digit code for literally 3 seconds. Definitely not. It's like instantly forgetting someone's name as they just told me 30 seconds ago. Story 104. If I ask someone else for help, I have usually tried and probably failed to do the task myself, sometimes more than once. I genuinely need assistance because I would rather endure significant discomfort than ask for help unless it is absolutely necessary. This isn't due to pride. It is because asking someone else means coordinating with them, which could lead to delays or forgetting to complete the task. Conversely, if I manage to find the motivation and ability to do it myself, I need to act quickly. If I have asked for help, it means I am tired, frustrated, and at the end of my rope. Story 105. Planning a trip or any type of planning is challenging. Estimating the time for a task or the expected time of arrival is difficult. I am finished when I have completed the task. How can I accurately predict that? Story 106. Being labeled as lazy due to a mental disability is unfair. It is not a condition that can be cured. It can only be managed. If someone loses a leg, they have a permanent inability to run a marathon. While a prosthetic leg may be technically superior, it cannot replicate everything a natural leg can do. Would you be furious if someone insulted you by calling you lazy just to boost their own ego? Absolutely. Story 107. My memory is poor. I won't remember the conversation we had about your favorite beer unless we repeat it several times. I'll tell you the same story about what happened at work multiple times. None of this means I'm not invested in you. I just can't remember because my brain feels cluttered and foggy. You know those dreams where you're trying to escape but can't seem to move? My brain feels the opposite. It wants to stay here with you but can't because it's racing in different directions all the time. Story 108. I don't feel satisfaction. People say they feel proud of themselves after accomplishing something, like giving a good presentation or earning a degree or certification. They finish cleaning their house and mentally pat themselves on the back, thinking, I did well. I don't get that feeling. The only thing I experience is, finally, it's over. Even when I engage in activities I enjoy, like painting, I feel a low-level, unpleasant relief that a task is ending. This makes it hard to motivate myself to do anything, especially if it's not instantly rewarding. I also struggle with planning. Everyone tells me to get a planner and write things down so I don't forget. However, it doesn't work that way. My brain is incredibly distracting, and it's not something I can just ignore. I have to completely reboot my mind to focus. I did try to get a planner. The problem? I can easily lose it. If I try to write something down, I pick up my planner and pen, but by the time I open the planner, I've already forgotten half the information I wanted to jot down because my brain ceased picking up the planner and pen as a task. For example, I have a doctor's appointment on Thursday, I think. Wait, what time is it? My mind races with all the possibilities. I'm too embarrassed to call and ask again since I've already missed 2 appointments. So I Google the clinic's opening times instead. They open at 8 a.m., so I note 7:30 just in case. Then where's my planner? It was right here a moment ago. I search around, repeating doctor at 7:30 out loud. Finally, I find the planner on my desk. I'm both excited and frustrated because it magically appeared, and I still don't remember what I was supposed to write down. I grab my phone to vent to a friend, and suddenly remember the appointment time. But where's my pen? I can't just grab any pen. It has to be the exact one I signed my planner with. I search all over for it, losing track of what I'm looking for. It's late, I'm hungry, and I have no energy to prepare a meal. I eat a slice of cheese and a banana because chaos has taken over my mind. In the shower, I hear an odd noise while washing my hair and think, how did a pen end up here? I have no idea. I miss my doctor appointment again, completely forgetting about it. Months pass, seasons change, and one night I randomly decide to rearrange my apartment. As I move things around, I realize I've been using my planner as a mousepad. Why did I even buy a planner? They never work. This cycle repeats every few years when someone hypes me up about planners and how to make them work. But every time I find that they never actually do. Story 109. I'm glad people are learning about executive functioning disorder. I am a handy person with many unfinished projects, but certain chores and exercising feel physically challenging for me. Story 110. The constant need to do something with my hands is frustrating. I feel uneasy, and I hope I don't bother anyone excessively. Story 111. I can't concentrate long enough to read more than short summaries or articles. Books are out of the question. I would prefer to be on a deadline to complete something like a work project. I am the ultimate procrastinator. Story 112. Not sure if it's attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, but one way I have coped with trying to complete tasks and errands is by making checklists of what I need to do. It really helps to see my jumbled thoughts in an easy-to-understand format. The issue is that sometimes I hold off on making the checklist. Story 113. I will walk from one room to the next and completely forget what task I am going to do. It is frustrating when it happens many times during the day. Story 114. Knowing I have a significant event makes me feel really excited as I mentally plan all the details. For a week, I become obsessed with it but then struggle to accomplish anything. In the last 2 hours, I rushed to get everything done. It turned out fine, but it could have gone so much better. It just lacked execution. I often get overly excited about a topic when talking to people. Most individuals cannot match that energy and find it strange. Story 115. There are 10 things I need to do, but it's difficult to prioritize them or break them down into smaller steps. Instead, I distract myself with online videos and avoid completing any of those tasks until I start feeling the pressure. Story 116. I can never complete anything. Any project I take on gets 95% done at best, and then my brain thinks, we're mostly done. That's basically finished. Or I come up with something interesting, put in 110% effort, then get burnt out and never finish. I'm constantly surrounded by things that need to be completed, and it's very stressful. Story 117. I have bitten my nails ever since I was a small child, experiencing a lot of anxiety. I just started medication, and now everything is so clear and calm. I have completely kicked my nail-biting habit along with a few others. Story 118. I expected my former partner to be sympathetic when I received a fine for not paying my taxes, instead of reminding me that I had 6 months to pay and that I should have handled it better rather than writing a complaint letter to the tax authorities regarding the fine imposed for late payment. Story 119. Being too bored to sleep. Being too bored to focus. Being too bored to get up and do something. Then came the panic. Story 120. I keep losing everything instantly. There are many mornings when I run around the house looking for my phone, wallet, and keys. At work, it's my work gloves that seem to disappear and reappear like magic. I can't hold a piece of paper without bending, rolling, or tearing it. If I don't have some sort of secondary stimulation while I'm trying to work, I space out. I need background noise like music, television, or audiobooks. It's difficult to drive, pursue hobbies, or focus on anything that doesn't require my full attention without some additional input. My brain seems to need to operate at 85 to 90% all the time, or it feels like nothing. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.